We're going to cover the user roster and user profiles and therms. Users can be configured to have specific permissions and content access based on the organization's requirements. So for example, a user can have access to supervisor level content or just regular access to content. Another user can have permission to review, edit, or delete reports or records. The configuration options are per user, and it's up to the organization administrators and management. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through creating a new user. I'm going to go into this drop-down menu in the top right corner. I'm going to click New User. I'm going to see a few form fields here. These are all pretty self-explanatory. The first one is a badge and ID number. We do see this commonly misused. Sometimes security companies will actually put the title here. For example, the security officer's title, maybe. When we actually have a title field down here. So the badge or ID number is optional, and it's not required. And then moving on to there's the name, last name, title. Again, those are self-explanatory. The phone number. It's important if you have the user's phone number. It's important to put that phone number in here. For example, a mobile or cell phone number. This will help them reset their password. The same with their email. So if a user wants to reset their password, they can either use their phone number or their email. So if you have their cell phone number, it is handy for them to if they get in the case where they need to reset their password. The email address is actually the most important part of creating a new user. When you create a new user, Therms will automatically assign a password for that user and will email the password to them once you create the record. So if you don't put the real or the correct address in for the user, then they won't ever get the email with their password. And also when a new user logs in, they have to verify the email. So it's kind of twofold. Now next on here is a region access list. If your organization has multiple regions, in my demo account here I have several regions set up. These are different cities that my fake company has security operations in. So if your company has multiple branch offices and you have regions module activated, then you'll see this list here. So if I'm creating a new user and I want to give them access to more than one region, or let's just say I want to give them access to one region, I also need to select a default region. Now that'll be the region that they see when they first log in. So for example, my user account, my default region is Spokane, and that's the one I see when I log in. I can go and I can change to a different region at any time. So if you want to give them access to more than one region, you can do that. Moving on in this list, we have the option here as an organization administrator. So I'm going to check this box now just to see what it looks like. I see this orange box here. It says this user is an organization administrator. This means that they're able to view, edit, and delete across the entire organization's account without restrictions. So depending on the size of your company, there may or may not be more than one organization administrator. This is basically like the super admin, the person that can create and delete anything without any restrictions. So if you do give somebody this organization administrator access or privilege, they can potentially even delete your user account. So it's generally not recommended. So access level is content access. So we have three options here. We have manager level 3, supervisor level 2, and regular level 1. So essentially there's level 1, level 2, and level 3 access level. Now this is related to content. So if I give this user supervisor level 2 access, then they can see access or content that is higher than regular level 1. But if I give this user regular level 1 access, then they won't be able to see supervisor or manager content. So I'm going to leave this screen quickly just to show you an example of where this might apply. I'm going to go into the locations list here. I'm going to select the Acme Business Complex location that I have in here. Now I'm going to go into duty, and depending, again, if you have your account set up a little differently, you may not see the same stuff here, but I just want to demonstrate content and at the access level. So I'm going to go into duty, and I'm going to click pass downs. So if I want to create a new pass down for, say, another user that's coming on shift or security officer, I can assign it an access level, and this is the content access level for it, basically. So let's say that I have something that I only want managers to see, like a door code. And I want to assign that to manager access level 3. So if I save that, I see at the top here it's a manager level 3. Now I'm logged in as an administrator, so I can see everything and I can create and edit and delete anything. So I see this manager access level here. Now if I go back to the new pass down here and I create one, everyone can see this. So there's two different pass down levels here. There's a regular level 1 and then there's a manager level 3. So any of the security officers or users in my system that only have regular level 1 access, they will not be able to see this manager level 1. So I'm going to go back into that page here where we were creating the new user, and I go down to access level. So if we just give them regular access level or manager, depends on the user that you're creating. So move on to, in this list here, we've got permissions. Each of these permissions kind of relates to a different module in the Therms system. And it's going to depend on what you have activated in your Therms account. You can see there's things like post bulletins, post stickies, or edit other users' bulletins, create dispatch records, or even down here, you can give somebody permission to create and edit other users. So if I wanted to give somebody the permission to create more users for my company, say they're a manager at the office, that might be a permission that they need. If I give them change region access list permissions, that means that they can go into a user and they can give them regions. Even if they don't have access to those regions, they can still assign other regions to users. So that'll only apply to you if your organization has multi-regions. The option to select a profile image is here. So one thing that I recommend to security organizations is always kind of put it out there to your staff to not upload unprofessional images, because these photos for the profile of the security officer can actually be attached to a report, and your reports may or may not end up in court at one point, or to a property manager of an apartment complex that you provide security to. So that profile image is very important. One thing to note is that a security officer any user in the system will not be able to just arbitrarily upload any profile image unless they have the create and edit users option. So I wouldn't even be able to edit my own profile image if I didn't have this permission. So I'll go back to the roster here. The roster is just going to show me a list of all the users that are available. And again, it gives us a title and then their badge or ID number here. So walking through one common scenario, let's say that we have a security officer that is being terminated from the company. If I go into his account here, I go to edit, and then I scroll to the bottom. I see this deactivate button here. Now, a user can never be deleted from Therms. They can only be deactivated. And the reason for this is because if a user creates reports in Therms and that report ever potentially ends up in court, they need to have a history or a log of who created it and their name and information, that kind of thing. So if I deactivate this user, it shows them as inactive. Now that user, if they were online when I did that, they'll be booted offline, and they will not be able to log in anymore because their account is deactivated. If I go back to roster, I do not see that user that I just deactivated in this list. If you ever do need to go back and review any inactive users, I can click on the menu here and I can click inactive users, and then I can see this list. So let's say in the future this guy comes back and I'm going to rehire him. I can simply go in here, edit, and I can reactivate his account. I don't have to go in and actually create a new user. So I just reactivated him and then he's back in the list. So that's pretty much it for the roster and user profiles. It's pretty straightforward in creating them, and content access level and permissions are the most important thing. If you have any questions or you need more support, check out the website, and we've got some docs there that will help you out, or you can contact us anytime.